Hey, and welcome to this Woman Wednesday edition of Liquid Lunch, and I'm John Tobacco. Today, it is a quite somber day, quite reflective day, especially right here in New York City, but our whole country, which came under attack on 9/11. And here in New York, we were hit hardest, and the city actually came together, the state, the government, to restore at least the honor and legacy of all those that were lost. And we'll be talking about the tragedy, the aftermath, and the hopeful healing of 9/11 throughout today's Woman Wednesday show. And I want you to stay with us because there's a lot that we're going to talk about that's going on in the country, that's going on in the world, what led up to this, what we need to do going forward to make sure it never happens again. And we, as a people, never forget. And you can never forget my co-host, managing editor, Frank Morano, joins us today on this 9/11 Woman Wednesday. Frank.
Well, John, it is good to see you, good to talk to all of you. You know, I've wrestled quite a bit myself over the course of the last 18 years. Almost all of that time I've been in the media in some form or another about how much time should be spent on shows on September 11th, remembering and talking about September 11th, and that is sort of what I'm speaking, frankly, about. So we do this show from New York, and all of us that were in New York on September 11th, I think I speak for the entire city and anybody that's moved out of New York since then when I say it really is the worst feeling in the world when you think about what happened 18 years ago today. You're filled with rage, you're filled with sadness. It's a downer, to say the least. So I actually have found myself avoiding shows that do wall-to-wall coverage on September 11th because it's such a depressing situation. Now, September 11th should be depressing. It was a horrible, horrible attack. But one of the things that I'm hopeful that we'll do on the show is get into a wide variety of other subjects. One, because there's a lot of other things happening in the world. John Bolton's resignation or firing, depending on who you ask. The North Carolina special election. A whole bunch of things happening with the economy. And there is a lot going on. And I think to indulge ourselves in 2 hours of wall-to-wall sadness would be a mistake. Not only would be a poor tribute to the lives that were lost 18 years ago, but I think it doesn't do right by all the subjects that are worthy of discussion today and on a daily basis. However, there's one aspect of the September 11th experience, for lack of a better description, that I do think bears repeating year after year, and I am somewhat disappointed that so many in the media refuse to show it. Take a look at this. This is from WABC Channel 7, NJ Burkett, reporting the day of the attacks 18 years ago.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way. The North Tower. Oh my God, there it goes.
The tower's collapsing. Watching it now, you still can't help but get emotional and get all those same emotions that I just described. But ask yourself the question, why is no other TV network that you're going to watch today showing that footage? Do people think we're not mature enough to see footage of the towers collapsing? I don't think that we can have a proper discussion about September 11th, the attacks, the two wars that we were in right afterwards, without showing the incredible destruction of what happened, especially while there's people out there claiming that somehow planes didn't really collide with the World Trade Center, or somehow the buildings were blown up from within as some sort of elaborate plot. So I believe that we should show the footage of the towers collapsing year after year. And I was curious if the public felt the same way. So I posed that question on Facebook this morning. Take a look at the response. Uniformly, of all 50 people that commented, every single one said that we should show the footage of the towers collapsing. This is history. This is absolute history. And to not show it, I think, would almost be the equivalent of being a Holocaust denier. So if we are going to talk about September 11th, whether it's for 2 minutes or for 2 hours, I'm a believer, John, that we should show the footage of these towers collapsing.
Well, you are the managing editor, and these editorial decisions are made by you, but I stand by you wholeheartedly. And we heard General Mattis out on his book tour last week talking about how our education establishment is corroding, and we're not teaching American history. That's why people don't understand the sacrifices and the wars and the loss of life that's happened for our freedoms and our liberties. And by not playing it, it's kind of going into that mode also, that we kind of want to forget about it because it's too hard to look at. We're not doing it for shock value, but we are doing it to at least let the establishment know we're not forgetting about it, and maybe the horror of it and explaining it to a younger kid about what happened will make those kids always respect and honor this day in history, as we all will, of course, Frankie. And
I'll tell you, the best article that I read today, and I read a great many of them that were very good, but it was a Newsweek piece written by Charlie Kirk. And he said, and I completely agree, that the best thing that President Trump can do today is to honor the memory of those lost on September 11th by pulling the troops out of Afghanistan. And I think with John Bolton's resignation yesterday, we got a lot closer to that happening.
Well, let's hope for greater things to come for our the great men and women in our fighting forces. Let's remember, and we're going to talk about it, and Dr. Judith Kuryansky is going to be here later to talk about how people are still dealing with PTSD and what you can do. Stay right there. We are going to toast to those loved and remember them all. And you're watching Liquid Lunch. Very special 9/11 edition coming back at you in just a few minutes.